All right, we are starting with Nancy. All right, Nancy. So we are starting with you this morning. You own a massage therapy business going well, wondering if I should invest in changing locations. I get a solid yes on that. If so, any guidance on which direction I should head, north, south, east, or west? Definitely west, maybe a little bit more northwest than direct west, but definitely that direction. They want to talk a little bit more about why changing is a good idea, and partially it's just vibrational. You're gonna have more, you're just gonna have some better energy there, in addition to there's some people dynamics, there's, some money dynamics, but also it's just vibrational. You're gonna have a different energy there, and you're gonna attract, um, a different clientele. You're gonna keep your clientele, but you might attract, some more clientele. All right, we are moving down to Zoe. All right. I'm experiencing difficulty moving forward. I often feel paralyzed to make decisions, and there are important decisions to be made. Can you shed some light on this difficulty for me and what I might do to restore a joyful agency over my own life? Oh, Zoe, I love this question. So, first of all, I really feel I'm going to call it a weakness in your sacral chakra, which is typically where we make decisions. That's the quote gut instinct. And even for people that are not like decision makers by feeling, by gut, even for people that make decisions with their mental, skills, that sacral reassurance is important because that's also where the energy comes from. That's the thing that moves us. So I would start with just doing like some chakra balancing. And even if all you do is close your eyes and ask, angels, guides to pour down light, love, energy, whatever works for you, ask them to pour that down into you and your body and your channel, and ask them to strengthen and balance and harmonize your chakras. And imagine also that, you know, each of your chakras is a different color. And when we expand on them, like if we were to pull the energy out of your chakras, it would look like a rainbow. So as you're imagining this, you can visualize the energy in each chakra changing, and you can give yourself the cue that, like, once I see the rainbow, I know that I'm connected. And so, not only is this going to help you, balance out your chakra and awaken your sacral, but it's also just going to help you connect to your intuition. So, you're going to feel more supported in your decision making because it's inherently including your guides and your angels. I also feel like there is some trauma here around decision making. Um, are you thinking about moving? Hmm. If you wanna ask me some more specific questions about your decisions, I can happily do that. But I feel like there's a move involved, and I do feel like there's trauma past life regarding moving. Like, you decided to move and something bad happened, like, or you didn't move and something bad happened. Um and for whatever reason, that past life trauma is coming up now, and that's what that feeling of, like, I feel paralyzed, it's coming from that. So the other thing you can do whether it's when you meditate, if you connect with your angels, like, whatever your spiritual connection process looks like for you, um, I would encourage you to release any energy stored from past lifetimes and ask for source, angels, guides, whomever, to align your energetic body with this lifetime. And you can thank that energy that it made its presence known because it offered you the opportunity to heal it. And you can thank that energy that it has served you in some way in the past, but now it's no longer serving you and it's time to let it go. So imagine that this paralyzation is like, this is such a terrible analogy, but imagine this like food stuck in your teeth. Like you've had food stuck in your teeth for who knows how long, and finally somebody tells you, and you're like, oh, gross, let me get rid of this. It's like it's just kind of been there hanging out, and now you're aware and you're ready to floss it on out of there. Um, so it's like it's been with you, and it's not just because energy and trauma comes up from past lifetimes doesn't mean that it's difficult to release. Like, sometimes we make it mean that it needs to be this big experience, and sometimes it is, like, sometimes we need to get hypnosis or whatever to help us dive into it, but for you, I don't feel that. For you, I feel very strongly that if you can start working with your chakras more intentionally, asking spirit to come in, strengthen, harmonize, and, give you that rainbow. When you can trust that you're fully connected and in alignment, that you would visualize a rainbow and just know that as stuff comes up in your mind, you can say, "Oh, that's not for me. That was my previous self, and it's coming up so that I can heal it and let it go." And what will heal it is me moving forward. So that's, yeah, the reason for the paralyzation is there's past life trauma connected to whatever it is that is happening right now that's coming up for healing. Let me know if that's clear, or if you have any more questions. All right, we are going to Mary. I have lots of gifts, talents, and abilities, many of which are creative, not all being utilized. Well, of course. I've been an interior designer for most of my life. I've also done lots of healing, coaching, and groups on the side. I'm at a turning point career wise and want to do something that will use my gifts that I enjoy, make a contribution to others, and generate a steady, sustainable income. Don't we all? Can you please offer some insight and direction? Yes. Okay. So the burnout, they want to address this separately first and say that there's a story in your mind that if you were doing something else, you wouldn't have burnout. And they want to say that that story is not true. Um, though the thoughts that you have about work and the way that you work in terms of how much you push yourself, how little you rest, what your self care routine looks like, that's not going to change. So your relationship to how much you enjoy the work might change, but the things that lead you to get burnt out could still be there. And yes, for your current job, there's a factor of like the dynamics that are there. You know, there are some factors of the current job that add to the burnout, but they just want to separate the idea that burnout is caused by the job itself. Which you didn't tell me you had that, but that's the feeling that I'm getting, is that there's this belief in you that, sorry, cat. There's this belief in you that if you change jobs, you won't have burnout. And so they just want you to be mindful that the burnout is largely in your control, regardless of what job you have. Okay, but let's get into the heart of the question. It does definitely feel time to start peeling away. It does feel like peeling away is an important verbiage here, because it's not a sharp, immediate cut. It is a slow peeling away, like a separating from the work itself. Um, and it's like it could be reducing hours, going full-time to part-time. It could be taking on fewer projects. Like, there's lots of different ways. Okay, sometimes when I channel, my cat just cannot help herself. So I'm at home today, and so we're gonna have cat interference. Um, okay, so peeling away from the current job, and I honestly, I'm so sorry to tell you this because it's probably not what you're wanting to hear. I feel this peeling away is a years long process. Like, I'm thinking 2 years, maybe 3. Like, it doesn't feel like an immediate thing in the sense of building sustainable income. You're not really going to want to leave until you feel very solid in your income. And so just be prepared to take care of yourself differently while you're still at this job. Okay, now to the really heart of the question of what do you do that's going to create steady, sustainable income? What I'm seeing is you joining some sort of a practice. So if there's like a group of people that are doing the work that you're interested in doing, that you become a consultant with them, or like, like there's different stores that offer like, oh, we have visiting psychics every Friday and different things like that. So I'm saying that you line up with some structural opportunities that are similar to that. I'm going to pause and answer this cat situation. No, she's got it. Okay. Um, it very much feels like a group activity, and also collaboration is an important theme for you in this lifetime. It feels like you have some healing work to do around collaboration, and perhaps that's contributing to the burnout right now. Um, so moving towards areas in which you can use your talents and gifts and abilities, but in a way that you're collaborating with others. And there's something about that collaboration that's very important also for the sustainable income. It's still entrepreneurial in nature, like, I don't see you collecting a W-2 salary, um, but there's there's already a foundation set, like, you're joining something that's already been created, is how I'm seeing it. In terms of healing coaching groups, I mean, I do feel like there's a curriculum inside of you that could be born. It doesn't feel as though it's like a sole purpose in this lifetime that you have to give birth to this curriculum, but it is a possibility that you would be writing your own coaching healing curriculum for people to follow, and they would follow it with your guidance and support. So it'd be like this combination of take home homework and reading and study and internal practice with your coaching support. And again, if you were to write individual curriculum, I see that happening within this group setting. Um, and do you work with tarot cards ever? Because I do feel that sense of tarot card connection, not necessarily from a prediction sense, although that could be the case, but more so at like getting to the heart of what's happening with your clients. So that's all the clarity that I'm getting for right now, and just pop back on if you have clarifying questions or expanding questions. All right, next up. Okay, Joanna, where do you see my career going? So the image I just got for you was like a flood, meaning everywhere. Like water goes everywhere. It fills in all the nooks and crannies. So you are just like the person of the last question. You're a multi-talented person. You have lots of interests, lots of skills, lots of abilities. And so you could go anywhere with people. I do see you supporting people, but if you're doing that, like, oh, I'm going to help them write their book, or oh, I'm going to help them become a psychic, like, oh, I'm going to help this person quit eating donuts every day. Like, I see you doing a variety of things for people. I do feel astrology for you. Um, I feel it in the like psychological astrology realm. So it does feel more like counseling astrology than predictive astrology. Um, and I don't see that as being like your bedrock, your foundation, but I do see that as being a tool that you enjoy and that becomes part of your marketing, like how you attract clients. It's one of the many, many things. Also, are you a trained hypnotist? That's another thing. I have that in common with you. I'd like to be trained. But anyway, hypnotism would be good for you. Like, not, well, yes, hypnotism would be good for you, but I mean, as a career venture, as a way of supporting people, hypnotism is a great match. Um, and it's basically like boutique coaching in the sense that everything is custom, like everything is, it just is what the client needs. You are a multi-talented, um, being, and your way of supporting people is to be the water that flows into all the nooks and crannies. It helps them fill in the gaps. So one way to look at it is, okay, here's this client. They're happy with their family, they're happy with their career, but for some reason they're still depressed. And so you're like, okay, well, let's come figure this out. Or here's this client that has been working really hard on their health goals and they drink more water and they eat better and they sleep better, but they just can't seem to make themselves exercise. Like, I see you having a niche for people that have already done a lot of work on themselves and they just can't seem to get across the finish line to close that last 10, 20, maybe 30%. Um, so your business model is very much good to great. Like, you're already awesome, and how can we get you exactly where you wanna be so that you can have your, breakthrough moments, and I know that you'll know what that means. So, your question was pretty broad. I hope that I answered it, and feel free to follow up with more follow-up. All right. Good morning, Jess. Stay-at-home mom feeling bored towards digital marketing. Cool. I feel like I should jump in, but there are so many what ifs. I would love some insight and guidance. Yeah, like what if I invest all this time and energy and then it doesn't work out, or I don't love it the way I think I'm gonna love it? What if it becomes a job? Am I gonna lose the creative inspiration? I totally hear you. I hear you on that. Um, that feeling that you should jump in is a feeling that you should trust. And the what ifs, like learning how to be comfortable in the what ifs is part of your sole purpose in this lifetime. I'm sorry to tell you because I hate that feeling also. Um, but the what ifs are actually really important for you. It's important for you to hold the possibility that everything could go awry, but you're gonna move forward anyway because you're trusting that you know enough of what you're doing in order to be successful. And successful could look like anything. That could look like I'm making $200 a month. I have one client that only pays me $5 or whatever. Like, success could look like anything, but being able to hold the possibility of the what ifs, but give your power to the possibility of what you're creating, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like, if you've ever had a relationship, let's say there's like a family member that things are not going well with, and when things first start going poorly, we can kind of obsess about it and spend energy and time thinking about this relationship and, "Oh my gosh," and, like, we can kinda chew on it for a long time. But eventually that gum will lose its flavor, and even though the relationship hasn't gotten better, we just give it less energy. So it's kind of like that. It's like, the what ifs are going to be there no matter what you do. If you choose to do nothing, the what ifs are going to be, well, what would have happened if I had tried, if I had gone for it? So the what ifs are always going to be there. And the trick is, how can you pull your energy away from them and say, okay, I hear you. I hear you, what ifs. I get it. You're a possibility, but I'm not giving you my energy. I'm putting my energy into what's moving me forward. In terms of giving you assurance, because that's my your guides are like, "She needs more assurance." So, digital marketing is a really good spot for you. You have a knack for systems that you haven't tapped into yet, or at least you haven't given voice to it yet. So, there's, marketing funnels, systems, like, it's so much bigger than branding, than like, what is the font and the color, right? And so there's some talents in you that you have not yet discovered, which is partially why there's so many what ifs about this, because you don't actually know how good you are at this route. Um, and also, you're coming in at a good time, meaning your system, the digital marketing world, is kind of in a time of disruption and it's rebuilding itself. Like, what should be using AI, what shouldn't be using AI? How many platforms do people want to be on? Are the platform algorithms just sabotaging us? Yada yada yada. Like, there's a lot about the technology that is being discussed right now. And so getting this is just a good time to enter. Like, it's not like you're entering at a time where, like we used to have like AT&T and T and Southwestern Bell, and those were the two things. Those are outdated, examples probably, but it's like there's not the hallmark tradition and company for digital marketing anymore. Different people are gonna have different niches and different processes, and so you're entering at a good time, both in terms of the digital marketing world and where you're entering, but also in terms of your family. Like, this is a good time to start peeling back a little bit at a time, a little layer at a time, and it's not peeling back in terms of peeling away, but it's peeling back in terms of how much energy is in the family and how much energy is, um, in your work. So, um, let me know. I feel like you need more guidance, but, if that's the case, drop another question and I will come back. All right, here we go for Susan. All right, I recently hit 3.5 years post-cancer treatment and have no evidence of disease. Yay! My teaching career faded away with the diagnosis. Sure. I still feel like I'm in limbo and without direction. Yeah, I would love insight regarding what is mine to do next. Ooh, those are big questions. This is really interesting, but I immediately heard the phrase grief group. And I know when we talk about grief groups, we normally talk about them in terms of having a loved one that has passed on. But a possibility for you, it's not like the one thing you should do, but a possibility for you is that you would orchestrate a cancer grief group. And you being cancer survivor, there's something about that term that I don't like, but you being fully healthy, in remission, no sign of disease, um, is really important. It's really important. And yeah, I feel like the grief group, and it's almost like you could have the same structure. I don't know about, Journey Through Grief. I don't know what that structure is, but it's literally like you could have the same structure, but like if we were gonna grieve it as a loved one passing on, it's like my former self, like who I was before cancer diagnosis. I will never be that person again, right? And so there is a very, very real death, whether the person becomes healthy or not, the death of who you were before diagnosis. And especially because you know what it's like to lose your career. Like, you deeply understand what it's like to have your world kind of flipped upside down and to never be the same again. Even though you're great, you're healthy, you've got friends, like, even though you're great, you did experience a personal death. And so this idea of cancer grief group, um, and facing death head on. Ooh, this is beautiful what they're giving me. It's also like, because you can face the death of your former self, the concept of death as a whole is a lot less scary. So sit with that idea. Okay. They're also pulling me to your sacral chakra. So, if you didn't listen to the message I did earlier, let me see who that was for Zoe. If you go back and listen to the message I did for Zoe, I talked a lot about what to do for the sacral chakra and how to support that. They're saying ditto. So just ditto on that. Um, yeah, like in general, your energy just feels a little bit weak, not physically, I don't think you're weak, but it just feels a little maybe lacking in vitality or zeal, and so that limbo is kind of like, "Well, how can I wake up? Like, what wakes me up? What excites me?" Like, you're ready to have, like, a calling, a purpose, a plan, but nothing feels to you like it's calling you, and sometimes in order for us to feel those callings, we have to get ourselves in alignment, and whether that's like mentally open, emotionally open, physically open, but we have to get ourselves into alignment. So, working energetically is really important for you right now. Um, And they really want you to play with the idea of a cancer grief group and what that might look like, um, and how that might generate a little bit of income. That's not gonna change your world, but it would generate a little bit of income. So, yeah, let me know how that lands and ask me any further questions. All right, so that is a snippet of what it's like to do, like, raffle readings with me or just, like, really quick ask your question in the group anonymously. I'll give you an answer, and there you have it. If you're interested, there's today and tomorrow. February 22nd, 2024 is the last day. I will be channeling essentially from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time, and you can ask me anything. Your guides, your angels, I will channel for you. The only thing I cannot do during this window of time is mediumship. I think that's too sacred to try to do in this environment. So, yeah, talk to you soon, loves.